ああ、でもまだ魔法のこと聞いてないです。あの緑色、何の属性なんですか？
緑色と言ったか。
はい。
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
Kevin,
Yeah.
we're here again today to talk about some more winter 2024 titles. Specifically, is this the wrong way to use healing magic?
No, the wrong way to use healing magic.
The wrong way to use healing magic. You heard the man.
Okay.
What are your thoughts?
Okay, yeah. So this one is another one that I was following, of course. And this one, I remember kind of finding it on a whim. And it was just kind of like, oh, what a neat little title. What is the wrong way to use healing magic? And it's actually a pretty creative way, I gotta say. Like the idea of healing magic using to augment your combat abilities
is it actually that unique? I don't know. I don't.
Yeah. I mean, there are not many. Like off the top of my head, I'm sure there is one, but off the top of my head, I can't think of another series that uses healing magic the way this one does. And yeah, because I've always thought like, if you could just heal yourself over and over, why not just use it to like beat the shit out of somebody, or maybe have superhuman strength. So it kind of does take that idea and run with it. And I went in out of curiosity, and and when Rose was introduced, I was like, okay, yeah, that kind of heroine, very rarely do we get to see as a leading role, the meathead kind of.
I actually can't even think of another character that's
like that
off the top of my head that's like that, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I can see it.
Yeah, so it was like, oh, okay, you know what? This is an interesting thing. And the main characters of Usato, Izukami, and Kazuki are likable enough. So I was like, okay, this is interesting. I like the way they kind of break down this like stereotype of the Izukami and Kazuki. How Izukami is actually
Inukami?
Inukami. How Inukami, out of all of them, is the big Isekai nerd.
So I actually really enjoyed this one.
That's not possible. I must alert the townsfolk.
Okay.
I think that it was super funny. When I was first checking everything out, I thought that the maiden of the student council and the guy that's also with her, right? Or the like president, vice president, that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, and I just turned it off instantly. And the fact that they kind of reversed that trope immediately, I was like, wow, there's something like pretty nice about this one.
私はロイド・ブルーガスト・リングル。このリングル王国の王だ。
王様、本物だ。
先輩?
And I do agree that Inukami being such an otaku for Isekai, the world, did not expect that, and I really caught me off guard. And I think it's really funny that she kind of embodies a lot of the Isekai stereotypes that I feel from the male protagonist, where she's like kind of a lech and she like looks at his muscles and stuff.
Yeah.
I did not expect that.
なあ、Usatoはさ。
少しいいかな、うさとくん。
先輩！
やっぱりだ。なんて凄まじい筋肉。うさとくん、少し触らせてほしい。
And so I was rolling when I saw those parts because I was like, I didn't expect that. But yeah, I mean, it's nice to know that Rose too. I don't know how common that character type.
No.
Is,
Usually that kind of character is like relegated to a secondary kind of character, or like even the fact that she is a older character, it'll have like more of a mentor figure who has the place of like the main heroine. Pretty rare. Especially with her personality type and her design. That's usually kind of something you would see like as like a background character or a reoccurring character. On a weird side note, does it bug you that her hair is green? Because every time I look at her, I'm like, her hair should be red. She's got that like intimidating look. Come on, on an artistic point, the red.
I mean, I think that I'm just gonna be honest. I think visually the show is just fine.
It's fine, yeah.
And so for me, I'm just like, well, I don't really think about her hair being green or whatever, because I'm just like, all of the visually, it's just enough to be passable. You know?
Yeah. Well,
So-
I mean, you give green to the girl that doesn't matter. In any show, green hair girl has no chance of winning. Yeah. So this one was a fun one. I remember at the time, reading it, and it was like, okay, it starts off very stereotypical. This idea of the main character being the quote-unquote background character and getting accidentally summoned with the heroes is actually a fairly common
I definitely
trope.
rolled my eyes at that.
Yeah, that's a very common trope, and I do like the idea though of like the main character literally was an accident because he doesn't hear the bells.
Yeah, the bells.
Yeah, and so I do like the way they kind of integrated that, making it kind of like really rub it in, like, oh yeah, he's not supposed to be here. Even the king is like, this guy's a civilian.
Yeah.
Don't throw him into the battlefield.
Yep.
And that's kind of like a nice, unique take on that stereotypical trope.
I actually just also really like how Usato is as a character. I
yeah.
feel like Isekai protagonists are the most unlikable pieces of
They're
shit.
either
usually.
unlikable or they had zero personality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
that-
I agree.
yeah.
Well, it's power fantasy, right?
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
happens. And so I really admire that Usato. I think that's something that like attracted me, for example, to something like Shangri-La Frontier, where the character seems very like honest and
yeah.
like just kind of open and nice. And that's kind of how this character is. He doesn't have pretenses to how he goes about his actions.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that because, like I said, they're such like leches, perverts, and like despicable human beings.
And
normally.
his relationship with Rose, the fact that he kind of a lot of the thing that Rose likes about him,
Yeah.
his feistiness, is
Yeah.
because he just can't stand her guts.
Yeah.
And that accidentally makes her like him more.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like his relationship with the mentor, it's a pretty fun dynamic.
Yeah, I do agree. I like that part.
And
for sure.
I as somebody who's read the manga, and it's been quite a while since I've read it, I would say like I got to maybe where it's probably going to be episode 9 or 10 of where this is.
Okay.
It's way further. But
Okay.
yeah, that's probably where I dropped off because that was where it's translated at that point.
Uh-huh.
But the pacing for this, I think the anime does a really good job at pacing. Because it is, I would say, slower than the manga.
Oh, really?
The first episode is
Yeah.
probably the first chapter of the manga.
Really?
The
Wow.
second episode is probably the second chapter of the manga. So they really flush out the relationship with Usato and Inukami and the Kazuki. And it's the third episode, the trial in the woods.
Uh-huh.
That one's definitely expanded. Him slowly learning to use his power, slowly learning to hunt the bear, and then later on the snake.
Yeah.
That is also expanded upon because it's fairly not brief, but it is a lot faster paced. And I think the third episode helps get to know them.
I actually disagree with that.
Really?
I felt this show, the first 3 episodes, reminded me how much I dislike the establishing part of, or the training type parts of these sort of shows. I think, in fact, that's a criticism of like the Marvel films, like how it always has to be the first movie of the superheroes, always like establish how he uses powers.
A lot
and
of
stuff
people,
like that.
yeah,
I dislike that, and I felt like this pacing was not good
a lot of
because
people would like that because like a lot of people in the Iron Man stuff, the thing they like about Iron Man is Tony Stark learning to use his abilities and him testing it. That's what people say is the peak for Iron Man 1.
I think for me, I'm a Demon Slayer. I'm a Kimetsu no Yaiba defender. I'm a Kimetsu no Yaiba apologist.
Boo! You stink!
So I really enjoy that show. And even I can say that the first like 6 episodes of the first season take way too long to get to the main threads of the show. And I felt very similar in this, where I was like, chop, chop, chop. Move on. Like, I really dislike those sort of like establishing, of course there needs to be some, right? You need to build on the characters. You need to establish the characters. But I think this one dragged on a little bit too long for my liking.
Okay.
I would have liked if they kind of got the ball rolling a little bit because I feel like what they did in 3 episodes could have been done in an episode and a half.
Maybe 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Those are a lot of good points.
Yeah.
One of the things that I had an issue with the manga is that there's a lot of exposition when it comes to how the magic works
I hate
and all of
that.
that.
I hate that
I
so
hope that they kind of take a page out of reincarnated princess and kind of just like
Skip that.
Yeah. And because like when it comes to like
That's always the worst part.
yeah, because when it comes to like the character building, that stuff is nice. But
Yeah.
when it comes to the exposition of magic, I get there needs to be rules, but like don't go too deep into it.
So far, actually, that's something that I wouldn't complain about. I think that the show's done a great job of not getting too worked up in its like world and magic system, because that's always where these shows trip up. It's like, let me give you all the details. It's like, I don't care what type of engine the Millennium Falcon has. Like that is not what makes the Millennium Falcon cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I do appreciate that show for not getting too bogged down in that. For sure.
Yeah. And yeah, so far it's for what I know of the manga, the story gets pretty interesting when these other characters get introduced. And I do appreciate that, like even the side characters, that his motley crew of weirdos,
the healing crew.
the healing crew, they all have their unique, distinct personalities.
They're
and stuff.
Australians, criminally minded.
Yeah. So it's a very fun show, and I'm enjoying it. And I was telling you earlier that like I really wish that more episodes were out, because this is one of those shows where I would have binged it. It's just a fun adventure show that I think is just really well executed. Okay, so this is one. Would you recommend this to our producer Nick, who is a semi-watcher?
I think it's fun. I don't think that if you're not into isekai, then I think it's not something that I think you should just watch as a viewer of anime as a whole if you're not into isekai already. But I think that if you enjoy isekai, this feels to me like a show that would be enjoyable to isekai enjoyers.
For me,
am I right on that or not?
No, for me, I would say even for someone who doesn't really care for isekai, but I think that this world is. I think it's a fun enough action show that it can surmount the tropes of an isekai. And like I said, it's got a fun take on it that it isn't.
I do agree that it's unique. I do agree that it's unique. I don't know if I'd go as far as you're praising it. Again, you're more into isekai than I am. Would I continue watching the show? Probably not. I mean, I'm the borderline on this. I thought it just went way too slow at the beginning.
Okay.
For me.
Okay.
And also, I was just like rolled my eyes when the bear cub followed him. I was just like, oh,
the bear cub gets a part of the story. Yeah, he's a reoccurring thing.
Anytime creatures get introduced, I take such a cynical view to that, where I'm just like,
well, you don't like marketing? You don't like easy marketing?
I don't like. I don't want them to get any licensing deals. I guarantee you, there's gonna be some
There's gonna be a
bear plushies or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cynic in me looks at that. I'm like, come on, this is an Ewok or a Porg.
Porgs, yeah. Well, you have the massive Porg collection.
I know. I'm the #1 Porg collector in North America.
Alright, hey guys, thank you so much for watching to the end of the video, and thank you so much for listening to Kurt's terrible opinion. I hope you enjoyed I hope you enjoyed our discussion, and give us a like, thumbs up, maybe subscribe. Who knows?